Ralph Fiennes, John Malkovich, Colin Firth, Jean Dujardin, Christoph Waltz. What do they have in common with Clark Gable, Laurence Olivier, George Sanders, and Cary Grant? Let's find out. Whilst rewatching the comedy gem Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I was struck by the most shocking of realizations. Michael Caine's type of character and performance, his careful delivery, his debonair aplomb, his easygoing gait. Those are rare, exceeding rare, and it dawned on me that we live in an age that has no room for the movie gentleman. The gentleman used to be a common, extremely common archetype in old movies. Take Cary Grant, or the originator of Caine's role, David Niven.
But a man must learn to live with his misery.
Suited up, witty, social and charming. You know the type.
That wouldn't be hard.
Today I'll define that unmistakable character that is the movie gentleman, both the character as written and as performed. I'll brave through his manifold history and explain why the archetype has become as rare as the diamond it's always been.
Freddie, if that man goes out of business, his artistry will be lost to the world. More than that, a way of life will begin to disappear.
Where better to begin than the Renaissance? In 1528, Lombardian author Baldassare Castiglione published the Book of the Courtier, one of the most important of its age. It's a dialogue set in the court of Urbino about the traits that make up a perfect. Major traits include a vast knowledge of the arts, letters, music and war. Thus it is needful for our courtier to be cautious in his every action, and always to mingle good sense with what he says or does. And let him not only take care that his separate parts and qualities are excellent, but let him order the tenor of his life in such fashion that the whole may be in keeping with these parts and be seen to be always and in everything accordant with his own self and form one single body of all these good qualities, so that his every act may be the result and compound of all his faculties. As the Stoics say, is the duty of him who is wise. Or, in simpler words,
how you do anything is how you do everything.
Decorum is primordial for a courtier, that is, knowing how to proceed in every situation. Even cracking jokes can be a tightrope walk. The courtier must after all take care not to be so sharp and biting as to be thought spiteful, assailing causelessly or with evident rancor either those who are too powerful, which is imprudent, or those who are too weak, which is cruel, or those who are too wicked, which is useless, or saying things to offend those he would not offend, which is ignorance. Being perfect is a challenge. But above all, a courtier requires sprezzatura, Castiglione's revolutionary word usually translated as nonchalance in one's actions. No matter what he does, no matter how excellently he does it, the courtier must give the impression that it's no biggie, it's just how he rolls. I classify a character as a movie gentleman in simple terms. He's well-dressed, well-spoken, well-presented, of developed tastes, with natural ease. Sprezzatura mandatory. Simple. Many negative traits would rescind your real-life courtier card, but not here.
He's no gentleman, he ain't.
If he looks like one, sounds like one, has no common tastes, he's in. No matter if he's evil or a coward.
He's a coward. He's not a gentleman.
I won't even consider this important dictum for the gentleman.
You have to be a man first before you're a gentleman.
We're only dealing with the archetype, not the ideal. I know there will be a bunch of comments saying that this or that guy, if you take this or that, ignore this or that, may perhaps be a gentleman. Let me cut it short and say that no, he's not. If you're grasping at straws, it's not a gentleman. The character's supposed to be evident. Mass murderer? I'll allow it. Desperate to fit in? Showing off? That's no sprezzatura. He likes popular music. Get out! In a time when all men wore suits and Hollywood was obsessed with films about high society, movie gentlemen abounded. Several actors mastered the type in completely unique ways, like the roguish Clark Gable.
I'll tell you why, Scarlett. Because I'm the only man over 16 and under 60 who's around to show you a good time.
And the bon vivant Michael Powell.
You know, that sounds like an interesting case. Why don't you take it?
I haven't the time. I'm much too busy seeing that you don't lose any of the money I married you for.
It took Visconti in the 60s to finally cast Burt Lancaster as a gentleman, and he mingled as if to the manner born. A few actors, mostly British, couldn't help but come off as gentlemen no matter what part they played, such as the impossibly posh George Sanders, ever the supercilious villain.
Hang it all, one can't leave a woman without a penny.
Why not?
How's she going to live?
I've supported her for 17 years. Why shouldn't she support herself for a change?
Or the invariably silky-sounding James Mason.
The hard fact remains that your daughter, at her present stage of development, is roughly on an intellectual par with the African gorilla.
Then there were the actors who had gentlemanliness thrust upon them. Whether the suit fits is up to you. I warmly approve of Bogey the one time he took Cary Grant's role, but I draw the line on Gary Cooper. He was repeatedly cast as the gentleman, but personally, I never once thought he belonged. He's too lanky, too coarse. He had the coolness, but not the elegance. I might be in the minority here.
Trying mighty hard to look like Gary Cooper.
The same for Jimmy Stewart, too corn-fed to be a courtier, which made him perfect to ridicule them in the Philadelphia Story. The Coen brothers brilliantly mocked classic Hollywood's ill-guided gent-making attempts.
Ha! Would that it were so simple.
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 On the other hand, there's Gregory Peck, whose stalwart righteousness made him a gentleman anywhere, but wholly unconvincing as a hick or a thug.
I'll be waiting for you after supper out by the bell.
This prince is supposed to be a roughneck. Sorry, Greg, just no.
Now understand this. I have no love for the Russians, and even less for the nobility.
How adorable! Look at him trying not to look and sound noble. John Wayne attempted things he shouldn't have.
Return to your people, Targetai, and speak well of the Mongols' generosity.
But luckily, never a gentleman. Just like Cary Grant never attempted a western. You see, gentlemanliness is in the posture and diction as much as in the character. That theatrically trained, imposing presence, clear diction and resounding voice becomes the gentleman.
I have 10 hearts. I have 100 arms. I feel too strong to war with mortals. Bring me giants!
Above all else, the three knights of the realm. Laurence Olivier, John Gielgud, and Ralph Richardson. Bona fide gentlemen all and true. Gods of patrician demeanor and vocal delivery.
And this man is now become a god.
Masters of classical acting.
And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here.
And on that happy note we introduce a sad subject. A cultural divide started in the 50s and was won by the upstarts in the 70s. Method acting, or call it what you will, say modern acting versus classical acting. The youth versus the old. Counterculture versus culture.
Bunch of goddamn fucking hippies.
And one of these wars' major casualties was the movie Gentleman. The new Hollywood especially was a successful cultural movement brought forth by nerds. Nerds! This new generation changed who we consider to be the movie hero. He's now the simple folk, unglamorized, common, the blue-collar worker, or the nerd. If someone's gonna wear a suit, it's the villain.
You think I'm a corporate asshole, that I don't appreciate pop culture, but...
The very word suit became an insult, a derogatory metonym for the unfeeling bureaucrat.
You know, when I want to blow off steam...
Drink tab, play Robotron, listen to Duran Duran.
I crack open a tab, I put on some Duran Duran, I play Robotron.
Take this story from New Hollywood Enfant Terrible and my public speaking idol William Friedkin.
I don't give a flying fuck into a rolling donut about what Al Pacino thinks.
He got called out by Hitchcock for not wearing a tie on set.
And he looked at me and he said, Mr. Friedkin, usually our directors wear ties.
Years later, he won the DGA and mocked little old-fashioned Hitch.
And I snapped my tie at him. And I said, how do you like the tie now, Hitch?
The fashion of the times had changed. For his generation, a tie is a prison. Think of how often you see films treating tie-wearing jobs as prisons.
It's suit and tie here. Lunch hour? Go home and change.
Billy Wilder criticized Tom Cruise for not dressing to the brims like Cary Grant. When Christopher Plummer describes the arrival of Italian street acting, why didn't that name catch on? He cites manners and attire as their first clash with the classicists.
I mean, you went to rehearsal in shirt and tie. You'd mix with the Italian street actors, as we call them, who come to rehearsals in t-shirts and torn jeans.
Fine clothes, clear diction.
And they'd say, let's beat the shit out of those limey puffs. They're shirt and tie again. They're speaking properly. Who the fuck wants to speak properly, for Christ's sake?
These are now symptoms of out-of-touch privileged snobs. A subgenre literally named Slobs versus Snobs became popular.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
The most influential sci-fi film of our age is all about quitting your steady job, dressing up like a punk band, not being called Mister, and blowing up evil suits who are literal machines. Heroes can't be gentlemen. Heroes rebel against what gentlemen supposedly stand for.
You almost understand, don't you, Bill? You're a different race from us, a different species, a different class.
Let's make it clear, these company drones are very seldom gentlemen. They just wear suits. As for villains who are actual gentlemen,
benefits of a classical education.
Today, if there's any good versus evil in the story, it will be the villain who has sophisticated tastes.
As Shakespeare said, if it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere best it were done quickly.
The fact that Hannibal Lecter is probably the most emblematic gentleman of contemporary cinema is so revealing as to be comical. A gourmet of fine cuisine and classical music with impeccable manners. A Renaissance man, master of medicine, the arts, literature and history. He's so superior to you all that why wouldn't he see you as food?
This isn't cannibalism, Abel. It's only cannibalism if we're equals.
Don't forget that in Lars von Trier's The House That Jack Built, the eponymous serial killer signs his crimes as Mr. Sophistication.
Your narcissism knows no bounds.
But don't be mistaken for 1 second. That character is knowledgeable, but he's not a gentleman in the slightest.
It's Mr. Sophistication!
The besmirching of all things gentlemanly is clear, especially if they're English.
I love you, Lord Daft Wager.
Yes, and I you.
The stiff upper lip society always met with criticism.
She also told me that you are practically impotent.
But by now it's been attacked from all sides up to a point where being an English gentleman is as desirable as depression.
Wanda, do you have any idea what it's like being English? Being so correct all the time?
There's nothing more soul-crushing, life-draining, love-killing, self-destructing than being an English gentleman.
From when I was this high, what I wanted was to be a gentleman.
Of course, period pieces will never leave and will ever require gentlemen, but the archetype's options have been fatally diminished, and few actors carry that spark of yore.
Certain things were different.
Things are always different from what they might be.
Michael Caine fit like a tailor's glove into the Courtier tradition. His fellow Cockneys, Terence Stamp and Bob Hoskins, never joined the now reduced gentleman repertoire. Not a lot of people know that.
You dirty little fucking prick.
We still have actors who can play the movie gentleman perfectly, but there aren't that many roles. We still have Anthony Hopkins and Jeremy Irons.
But I give you my word as a gentleman.
In a younger generation, Colin Firth and Ralph Fiennes have shown themselves as the most consistent.
I don't know what sort of cream they've put on you down at the morgue, but I want some.
Paul Giamatti was a natural the few times he had the chance. His voice has this rare gravitas because he always sounds tired. George Clooney easily has the means, if not the interest. And can somebody in the name of John Gielgud's voice give Tom Hiddleston a good role already? I wonder how many filmgoers have noticed that John Malkovich, with his respectable poise and his extremely soft-spoken drawl, is by very far the greatest American movie gentleman we've had in generations. No wonder he felt so at home in the theatrically hieratic films of Oliveira.
I wish you weren't so pure, it's cruel.
And the classier than classy cinema of Raul Ruiz.
Therefore, it's useful, it's expressive, and above all, it's beautiful.
Remember Jean Dujardin? He came, he saw, he conquered, he left. For 4 seconds it looked like that old world movie gentleman was back, but what was there for him to play? A single sleazy supporting gentleman. And he's back to France. Not that there's an army of gentlemen for him to play there aren't. It's worldwide. Cinema today cannot make the most of this most effortlessly suave fountain of riz, as per the parlance of our time. In better times, he'd have been made the new Maurice Chevalier. Also take the disappointing career of Christoph Waltz. For a while he did play every single charismatic villain role there was, which were probably less than you remember.
Yeah, I assume this is the part where I'm supposed to laugh maniacally and regale your majesty with the details of some diabolical plot.
Then what? Hollywood is unable to take full advantage of his skills. Tarantino even thought that the role of Hans Landa was unplayable, a gentleman villain role that just a couple decades before would have been easily filled by Maximilian Schell.
He said yes. He said yes!
Quentin truly believed there was no actor alive who could play a savvy, smooth, amiable polyglot, and it makes full sense.
I, on the other hand, love my unofficial title, precisely because I've earned it.
Now, just like every single man, woman and child on Earth and beyond, I find Christoph perfect as Landa, but I have no doubt that Sky Dumont could have pulled it off. He already stole the show with a single scene in Eyes Wide Shut, playing a charming seducer with some really questionable game.
Did you ever read the Latin poet Ovid on the art of love?
You know why women used to get married, don't you? It was the only way they could lose their virginity.
Bruh. No matter how short their screen time, gentleman characters always steal the movie and walk leisurely away with it.
A gentleman will walk but never run.
Sandor Savos is mountains of magnitude more interesting than everyone else in that great movie. Couldn't the film be about him? You just know he had a blast the following night. John Houseman won an Oscar for The Paper Chase without even playing a dramatic role, just out of his magnetic presence and vocal control.
You're on an operating table. My little questions are the fingers probing your brain.
Every dull time he's not on screen, you're thinking of him and wishing he was in every scene. That would have made a great picture.
Personal comment is not necessary.
The Office made a wonderful joke by introducing a gentleman character into the show's cringe-inducing gaff-heavy world of goofballs.
Stop trying to figure me out.
I just did.
You can't.
It's done.
No, it's not.
I know you now.
Robert California stands out so much from our Maladroit cast that nobody seems even able to react to a person who's articulate, assured, and without a drop of awkwardness.
You are a man of great confidence. Could you speak a little more to that?
More recently, Maria gets a joyous jolt each time we see her look billionaire as Onassis.
I should get back to my husband.
You'll never go back to your husband.
He got all the best lines and nailed each of them as the affable chevalier concealing a cruel side.
Could you explain to this sweet lady that I'm the richest man in this fucking room?
The type of role gentleman master Claude Rains used to play with his eyes tied behind his back.
Many things have died for all of us. We mustn't let our spirit die with them.
Alfred Pennyworth, the second greatest Jeeves.
Problem with the graphite, sir.
Played by consummate gentleman Alan Napier, then by consummate gentleman Michael Gough, then by consummate gentleman Michael Caine, then by consummate gentleman Jeremy Irons, now by stocky Andy Serkis. Good actor, but
you're becoming quite a celebrity.
He's not a gentleman. Doesn't look like one, doesn't sound like one.
Our accounting friends at Wayne Enterprises are coming for breakfast.
Why?
Because I couldn't get you to go there.
We can't even have Alfred as a gentleman anymore.
I'm well aware.
Even James Bond was turned into a grouchy brute who's forced into a tux sometimes. Hollywood, if you take away our gentleman Dracula, I'll lick you.
How well you phrase it.
The truth is, the gentleman doesn't fit with what modern media wants to sell, which is that the average Joe is king.
You're too good for the people. I am the people.
Normal people are boors. I slouch, I mumble, I fidget, I'm antisocial, I'm anxious and nervous, I second guess all I do and I refuse to accept that anybody could possibly do better than that. Anyone who does must be a fake, a villain, or just plain unrealistic. There's this unfounded but cemented belief that cinema must be realistic, and that's the easiest criticism to throw around. Defend the terrible thing you love, it's realistic. Attack the terrific thing you hate, it's unrealistic. Fortunately, I've learned from my viewers that many of them are as sick of this crutch as I am. Since we're here, kindly like and subscribe, it helps enormously. You can also join me on Patreon. One of my favorite essay subjects is analyzing brilliant dialogue. And whenever I defend dialogue that uses wit, rhetoric, or just plain proper grammar, I get invariably hit with comments saying that this type of dialogue is not realistic. Okay, first thing, realism doesn't matter. Second thing, yes it is. Watch TV from the 60s. People spoke good.
Contemn a particular party
as engaged in the pursuit of human greed, requires us to understand his rather eccentric definitions.
I'm especially addicted to Gore Vidal's debate sessions.
And you certainly must, Bill, maintain your reputation as being the Marie Antoinette of the right wing and continually imposing your own rather bloodthirsty neuroses on the political campaign.
You certainly must, Bill, maintain your reputation of being the Marie Antoinette of the right wing and continually imposing your rather bloodthirsty neuroses on their political campaign. If you're not gonna talk like that, why even bother learning to speak? Imagine watching well-presented intellectuals defending fully built ideas with a full lexicon.
McCarthyism, which means that you make a reckless and malicious charge against somebody which you then cannot substantiate.
These are real people. These were real people, in real erudite conversations. Along the way, society lost it and denied it ever existed. People can speak well, people can dress well, people can carry themselves well. What is the gentleman if not the elevation of the simple act of being into an art form? Speaking is an art form, walking is an art form, simply standing there is an art form. For the masses that lazily accept life's factory standards, that's intimidating. Oh, he stands up straight. No, thank you, I'm not a sexually repressed sissy. That's where the association fallacy comes in. Don Draper is the most formidable gentleman of the century. A smooth-talking, hyper-confident master of his domain. And he's a miserable cheating drunk. No fan of his would ever deny that. But the moment you praise the character for all his positive traits, haters will spawn to point out his flaws and how you should never take him as a role model. As if you dare to give yourself a commanding presence, sharp speech, and attractive confidence, you'd magically turn yourself into a miserable cheating drunk? Is it in the terms and conditions? I don't know who it was invented the lie, just be yourself. But it was a damn fine gentleman who wanted no competition.
You can't go out there.
You can't.
Therefore, may we henceforth have more characters who are stylish, urbane, and cool. And the classically trained actors who can play them. After all, the movie gentleman isn't altogether dead. Just standing politely by the door, waiting to be invited back. Thank you for watching.